Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of On Screen, the official podcast of TheTotalScreen.com. My name is Tyson Gifford.
My name is William Rohrig.
And today we are going to be kicking off this first episode by talking about E3. Welcome to E3. So, we made a few predictions before the E3 events, the festivities kicked off, and that's going to be our first kind of order of business here. We're going to go over these predictions and kind of see how we did. So, I'm going to start off with mine. My first prediction, no Switch Pro.
Yeah.
Got that right.
That was an easy one to get right. Nintendo wasn't going to show that at E3. Nintendo doesn't do hardware revisions at E3 traditionally, especially and with the Switch, they've never revealed any iteration of the Switch, even the original one at an E3.
Yeah.
So
well, I counted in my point that there was going to be no talk of Switch Pro, which ended up being the case.
Well, yeah, they're not going to talk
There was no, because there was rumors that they were going to announce it, the week before.
Yeah.
That's when I made my predictions, was before that. So,
yeah.
If you guys don't know me with my position on Switch Pro, I'm a big Switch Pro denier.
Yes.
I do not believe in the Switch Pro. I do not believe in the Switch Pro climate change. I do not think that the Switch climate is being changed.
Bad, no.
My second prediction was mostly correct, and that was I said no Metroid Prime 4.
I'm going to give that to you. Them saying don't worry, development's still happening it does not count in my opinion. I think I can give that to you. You were right.
Yeah, but they did announce, they did mention it. Yeah. But I think, I knew that they weren't going to show it, and that's kind of the main point there, and they did not show it. My next prediction was Breath of the Wild 2, new trailer, coming in March 2022. I got this one almost 100% correct. The only thing off is that they only said 2022 and aiming for 2022.
Very bold of you to put a month on that. I was not that confident.
I thought it's perfect for the 5-year anniversary, exact 5-year anniversary of Breath of the Wild.
Right.
But they just said 2022, and then after they said 2022, they said aiming for 2022, which makes me think 2023 is still on the table for that.
Yeah, 2023 is still on the table. I don't think it's coming anywhere close to March at this point.
Oh, no. Yeah. After the way that was announced and shown and a very small amount of footage that was actually shown makes me think this is going to be aiming for late 2023. So I was thinking this is going to be 5-year anniversary material, but yeah, it's looking like that might not be the case. My next prediction I got completely wrong, and that is that I thought there was going to be a Resident Evil for Switch. There's rumor about one. There was a leak about a title that people attributed it to being possibly for the Switch. Yes. And not only that, but I predicted that it was going to be more in line with 4, 5, and 6 than 7 and 8, where they're first person. I thought it was going to be more in line with the older Resident Evils.
That's the rumor, but I think Capcom wants to focus all hype and marketing on Resident Evil Village right now. So they announced DLC is in the works for Village.
Yeah. What an announcement.
Yeah. Nothing. They just said, we just start development on DLC.
Yeah. Okay. Basically they just decided to do DLC more than even starting it, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be the DLC is just going to be a straight up tall woman waifu simulator.
Yes, the waifu simulator. I enjoyed 8. I played through it 6 times already. It's a fun game. I'm looking forward to that DLC, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen the rumored Resident Evil Outrage. That would have been nice, but it just wasn't in the cards for this year.
Yeah. I thought after I made this prediction, I thought, because I talked to you and we were talking about, do we think that there's going to be a cloud game that was going to be shown, like another Switch cloud game?
Yes.
And you said, yeah, probably. And then the thing you said was like going to be one of the Resident Evil games. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It did.
So I'm even more surprised that wasn't shown than even my original prediction.
Yes. Yeah, I was like half right on that. I was like, there was a cloud game, but it wasn't Resident Evil. Not even close.
Resident Evil 8 Cloud Edition would have made so much sense.
It would have, really would have made so much sense.
But none of that. And then my last prediction, which I think is kind of true actually, is I said another classic FF remake, Final Fantasy remake, and then I put hoping for, so this wasn't my prediction, hoping for 6 HD2D.
You got Final Fantasy 6 remade, based off of the awful mobile port, but they improved the graphics.
Yeah, a pixel remaster, or what is that what they called it? Pixel remaster?
Yeah, they call it like the pixel remasters, and what they did was they took the mobile versions that they made like ages ago with absolutely atrocious graphics, and
with the butter knife smear technique.
Yeah, with the butter knife, and this is their attempt to like fix those up and make the graphics closer to the original games. It's not quite the same from what I've seen.
What a missed opportunity not to announce that coming to everything, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
They just purposely said like iOS and Android and PC, like that should have just said all platforms.
We'll talk about Square's conference for sure, but I don't know what the hell Square's smoking.
Now we're going to move on to Will's prediction. Will went with this one with like 3 specific conferences, and he gave a realistic and out of bounds one for each.
Yeah, so I did my format for my predictions a little different than Tyson, because I wanted to cover the breadth of E3, or what I was interested. I didn't want to just be Nintendo. And also, like, I like doing crazy predictions I know are not going to come true, because it's just fun to do that. So,
wild speculation.
Wild speculation. That's what E3 is about.
We need to make that one of our segments now that we're doing segments.
Yeah.
I need to make a bumper for wild speculation, maybe with like a Old West kind of theme to it.
So I think I did pretty well with the realistic, that when I was trying to make like a good prediction, and I missed with the stuff that weren't good predictions, because obviously. Well, let's go with so my first prediction was for Nintendo, and I guessed for realistic, I guessed that they would show a reveal of Breath of the Wild 2 with a 2022 launch date. That happened. Nailed it. They showed a new trailer. They put that 2022 launch date at the end of it.
No March divider in there.
No March divider in there. No. Like I said, I was not bold enough to attach a month to that date. So it's like out of bounds. Metroid Prime 4 full reveal. I knew that wasn't going to happen. It's just way too early. If anything, we're going to get a trailer for Metroid Prime 4 probably next year.
I'm still like,
it's not going to happen this year.
Because I don't believe in the Switch Pro, and I think that the Switch successor to me is probably around 2023, might not be right on there. I still think Metroid Prime 4 is going to gear up as like a Switch successor launch title.
It could be.
That's my kind of perspective on
it. I think it's going to launch in 2024. But I think we might get finally some new info next year. But I don't think it's coming out till 2024.
Metroid Prime 4 or
Metroid Prime 4.
Okay. Yeah, it's a ways off. It's definitely a ways off. I mean, it was rebooted, restarted at a studio that kind of is, not really a match to its former self. So they started staffing up big time so that they could take on this project, and then the pandemic hit. So hopefully
Metroid Prime 4 isn't like another Metroid Dread situation where it takes them 15 years to get it made.
Seriously. It's going to be a ways off no matter what. The people that were expecting this to be like, revealed at E3, man, they are living in just straight fantasy world.
Oh yeah, they're fantasy world. Nintendo's focus right now is just getting Breath of the Wild 2 like out there. These are big games. I can't see a scenario where Metroid Prime 4 and Breath of the Wild 2 launch in the same year. That'd be insane.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Microsoft. So my expectations for the Microsoft conference was that we were going to see Starfield. It seemed very likely that was going to happen. I expected more of a reveal than what we got. We got like a teaser trailer that wasn't really satisfying.
Probably about the worst possible way to reveal that game.
Yes, it was the worst possible. It's from what I understand, it's still in like early alpha.
Yeah.
And it's clear Microsoft just put that out because they wanted to. I think they put that out there because they spent all that money on Bethesda and they want to reassure investors that they made a good investment.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well have just had a title reveal or like a logo reveal.
Yeah, exactly.
Though, because like it's totally like what people wanted from a Starfield reveal was scope, and this showed no scope at all. Like nothing.
And and they announced the release date. It's like November 2022, so it's clear like
I doubt this is coming out next year. There's a well-earned history of E3 games being announced for like the next year that come out like 2 or more years later, Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we get a delay to 2023 for that game.
Yeah, definitely.
Out of Bounds, Banjo-Kazooie 3 tease because, that's just dead, that franchise. Microsoft has no interest in reviving Banjo-Kazooie for any reason.
Not Nuts and Bolts 2?
Yeah, not Nuts and Bolts 2, not anything. I knew that would happen, but I would love to see it one of these days. That would be, if that happened, that would be a top E3 moment for me, but it's just not in the cards.
I think if Microsoft was smart and opportunistic, they would have put into development a very simple Banjo-Kazooie game, like a 2D game.
Yes.
Something that could be made quickly.
Even
and they should have put that into development immediately upon agreeing with Nintendo that Banjo was going to be in Smash.
Yes.
So something that they could have put out within like a year.
Yeah.
So that they could have just gotten that out quickly to capitalize on that, and that could have developed a franchise for them, but they didn't think about that, and so we're probably never going to see Banjo-Kazooie again.
They brought back Battletoads instead for some reason, and nobody wanted that except for like a meme.
Yeah.
I guess if we make Banjo-Kazooie a meme, they'll bring it back. That seems to be the way they operate.
Yeah.
Square Enix, I had big expectations for Square Enix, and it's tragic. I did.
Because now you're going to address the anti-hype moment of the entire show.
Yes. We'll get to that when we, I want to do like a quick breakdown of the conferences, but like, it's, okay, so I predicted that we would see a re-reveal of Babylon's Fall. Not really much of a prediction when like the official account like tweeted that was going to be at E3. But I thought that we'd get a re-reveal and a release date. We got the re-reveal. There was no release date though.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, Out of Bounds was more wishful thinking for me. I would love to see Chrono Trigger done in the HD 2D Octopath style.
Just bring all the old RPGs.
Just bring all the old RPGs. Yeah, exactly. Just do all the old 16-bit RPGs and that.
I think the closest thing to our HD 2D hope is like our second in our top pick section.
Yes.
For the closest to that, but we'll get to that later.
Obviously that didn't happen. Square Enix has been doing a good job of pretending Chrono Trigger doesn't exist recently. So
I think Square Enix paid attention to the old Konami Capcom contest of losery.
Yes.
And now that Capcom's kind of started to back away from that contest, Square's like, I think I can get in on this.
Yeah, Square's like, I think we can do this. Yeah, exactly.
They're like contacting Konami. They're like, hey, we know that Capcom's kind of leaving this little thing you got going on here. this contest of sucking.
Yeah, this contest of sucking.
Can we get in on this?
Yeah, right. Can we do this? And Square, like, they decided they were gonna go in hard with the sucking this year.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, a good third of their conference was spent on mobile games.
Yes.
Which is like a big no-no for E3. Like, that's not the audience for E3.
No, that is definitely not the audience. I don't want to hear about your mobile games.
And then another third of their conference was dedicated to Life is Strange, which, like, almost the exact same footage, presentation, introduction, everything was in a previous show almost a year ago.
Yes. Yeah, you're just like rehashing things. But the most egregious for the Square conference was the games that I actually had expectations for. Disappointingly, Babylon's Fall did get a re-reveal, but it looked worse than when they first showed it. Like the first time they showed it, it looked amazing. It looked like it had the signature Platinum Games style action. Looked like it was a single player action game. I was on board. I was like, yes, let's do this. Then they re-revealed it. The action looked a lot more muted for some reason, and they revealed it was a multiplayer live service game. And I'm just like, no.
Even graphically, it just looked duller.
Yeah, it looked duller graphically. I was like, what the hell? This is what was going on in like the years it was absent. Just bad. And then it got worse.
That was the anti-hype moment of the entire E3 though, because that game was probably the most hyped game going into that event and the most hated leaving it.
The most hated. It also, like, before the event, it also leaked out prior to the event that Square was doing a Final Fantasy game with Tecmo Koei.
Team Ninja, right?
Team Ninja, that they were going to do a Final Fantasy game based on Final Fantasy 1 and, as a Souls-like action RPG, or at least that's what the leak article said. And my mind just went wild. I was like, okay, Team Ninja, they do Neo, which is, their version of Souls. Neo is fantastic. It's an excellent game. If we're going to get like a remake of Final Fantasy 1 in the style of Neo, that would be amazing. They can do a lot of cool things with that. It comes out and it's just like a generic angry white guy screaming chaos like 10 times.
I was just going to say, I got one word for you, Will. Chaos!
Yeah, chaos! It was so bad it instantly became a meme. Oh my god.
Yeah. Chaos Guy is now forever paired with Cammy talking about snowboarding and Ravi Drum.
And Ravi Drums. And that one guy from Konami, 1,000 troops.
$599 US.
$599. Yeah.
Racer.
The reveal of Final Fantasy Origins is now one of the all-time infamous E3 moments that they'll never live down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nomura.
Yeah, thank you, Nomura. Yeah, exactly. So Square's was like the most interesting conference for the fact that it was a stunning design. Oh, and to add insult to injury, not only was the reveal trailer for Final Fantasy Origin bad, but they released a playable demo, which was corrupted and unplayable for an entire 24 hours.
Bring in the suck.
Yeah, bring in the suck. So thank you, Square, for a legendarily bad E3 conference that people will not forget.
So since we've kind of segued into conferences, bad conferences was kind of the name of the game here.
Right.
There are a lot of bad conferences going through this E3 event. Square Enix took probably the worst of it. Capcom's was pretty freaking bad too. Pretty much only showing stuff like games that were already out, basically.
The games were good. It's like, I don't have anything against Monster Hunter Stories 2 or Ace Attorney's Chronicles. They're fantastic. I'm glad that they're
But they only showed 4 games and 2 of them were already out.
Yeah. So 2 were already out and the other 2 were like already announced. We knew about those games. We had a lot of details about those games prior. So it was really a nothing. There was the problem with Capcom was there were no new announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Microsoft had a somewhat respectable conference. They brought a lot of games. They gave a ton, like a mega buttload ton of additional value to Game Pass.
Yes.
So if you're into that, then you're like probably pleased as punch.
Yeah,
I don't know what better saying to use, but you're probably very happy right now with what went down there. They kind of hit trailer, which is a good thing to do.
Yes.
But the show started all kind of running together by the end for me.
I would say I will say they had a good show. Most of the games that personally appeal to me, but that's fine. That's my personal taste.
Yeah.
My big gripe with Microsoft, though, was the fact that they did show a lot of games, but the majority of the games that are exclusive are not this year.
Yeah. It's kind of like hey, dream with us about the future.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So Microsoft had a decent conference. I mean, everybody else had about what you'd expect, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even watch Ubisoft's. I heard that was just typical Ubisoft conference.
Yeah, it's Ubisoft. I don't care about Ubisoft games. I played Ubisoft games. They're just kind of bland and unmemorable, in my opinion. I played through both Division games and, nothing sticks out to me that's particularly memorable about those games.
And then you have Bandai Namco, which apparently only showed 1 game at their conference, but they kind of, before E3 even hit, they killed it with a game, and then they didn't show that game again at their own conference.
No, they showed Elden Ring. We got Elden Ring at the Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. Keighley stole the exclusive on that trailer, and it was amazing. It blew me away. That's how you do a game trailer. You show the freaking game, you show off how how awesome it's going to be. And I wish there was more of that, but there wasn't.
That kind of transitions us, because we're not going to talk about the Nintendo conference directly, just because so many of our top picks are just from the Nintendo conference, so we'll cover it in there.
Oh, I will just say real quick that obvious, in my opinion, Nintendo had the best conference.
Yeah, and they had all the expectation on them too, basically. By the time it was the day before Nintendo show and everybody was getting ready for it, it was basically like, please Nintendo, save E3.
Yeah.
Exactly. Imagine if Nintendo had pulled like a Wii Music conference.
I will say, like, Ubisoft did have Mario and Rabbids too, and I like Mario and Rabbids. Yeah. So it's really cool to see a second one coming out, but that was the only thing.
Imagine if Nintendo had done one of their epically bad conferences. It would be like,
yes.
Please Nintendo, save E3.
God.
And Nintendo whispered back, no.
like Nintendo got on there and they announced, their big announcement was that they're porting a Animal Crossing Amiibo festival from Wii U to Switch. Please be excited.
They're deleting New Horizons from everyone's Switches.
Yes.
And all the game cards are just going to stop working. You only get Amiibo Festival.
Yeah, you only get Amiibo Festival.
But yeah, so we're on our top pick section right now. You talked about Elden Rings. Another one that showed up at the Microsoft conference, but it's not a Microsoft specific game. It's a Kickstarter game coming to pretty much everything, I think. Everything that it can run on.
It's coming to Xbox One, I believe it's Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and X, PS4, PS5, and PC. They said in the original Kickstarter statement that they don't think it can run on Switch, or they're not trying for a Switch version, but if Nintendo does announce like a more powerful system, during the game's development, or if Nintendo comes out with another system, that they will look into developing it for that system.
And I think that's going to end up being the case, because it is a 2023 game.
Yeah.
So it is a ways off. So I think it's going to end up coming to a Nintendo system. Maybe not a simultaneous launch with the other releases.
Right.
Which is, if you're a Nintendo fan, you're kind of used to that.
Yeah, you're kind of exactly. But it looks awesome. As soon as the Kickstarter went up, I backed it. I backed it for a full physical copy. It's going to be amazing. It's Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. And if you don't know, it is a new game by the creators of Suikoden. Suikoden? Okay. I just never know
how. It's a weird pronunciation, yeah.
Suikoden. And if you don't know Suikoden, it was an RPG series that began on the PlayStation 1, and it ended on the PS2. It was,
I think they put one out on on 3DS. They put, I think the last game was on 3DS.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of weird though. The franchise had been it was kind of super niche by that point.
Yeah, it was Konami's attempt to get in the JRPG market. Konami didn't do really a lot of JRPGs, so that was their one big JRPG franchise, and it's clear that with how short-lived it was, Konami didn't really think much of it. But, for everybody who played it, they swear by it as, one of the best JRPG series of the entire PlayStation era.
The first two, the one that were on the original PlayStation, were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so hyped for the ones that were coming on PS2, like Suikoden 3. I was totally let down. There's some people that like those too, but I think most people kind of, they changed it so much that they just kind of lost interest. This looks very much like the first two.
Right.
And it's the writers, the people that are involved were the people that were involved in the first two, less so in the later ones. So that this is why I think people were so excited about this when it hit Kickstarter.
Yes.
But it's not just that, but it's the
style is
the graphic style is like they said, oh, we see what you did, Octopath Traveler. Let's kind of one up that.
Yeah, exactly. It looks fantastic. They're going all out, and the Kickstarter was a huge success. So much so that they did manage 505 Publishing picked up the game and are helping to fund the release. And Microsoft paid the developers to get the game put on Game Pass, when it launches. So, they got attention from some major players, and, more power to them. We need more games like this, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all for kind of story-heavy JRPGs returning with stylistic choices and stuff. The big thing, my kind of gripe with like a lot of like modern JRPGs is they've gone more and more into just like, AAA visuals and systems. Yeah. Like having like really intricate systems, and that's cool and all, but like without like a good plot and good characters and stuff like that, it just doesn't have any meaning to me. So I'm really happy to see like, Suikoden's from like kind of the golden age of like really well-developed story RPGs with strong characters, And so I'm really excited to see this kind of, bring that back.
Definitely. 100%. The next thing that was on our excited, you're very excited for this one. No More Heroes 3.
Yes. I love the No More Heroes games. I love Suda51 in general. I think he's amazing. He's one of the few like true auteurs of like game making, A lot of people that kind of share that spotlight with him are from these huge developers with hundreds of staff that all kind of contribute their vision and are all a big part of the process. So I don't really look at it and go like, oh yeah, that's definitely an auteur working on that. But like Suda, like he just permeates anything he's working on, You just look at anything he's working on, you can immediately tell, oh, this is a Suda51 game. Like it's so obvious. So it's really nice to see a game from Suda51, from his, most beloved franchise, really excited about it. It's anybody who doesn't know, the series is very meta. It breaks the fourth wall a lot. It has that kind of like a Deadpool kind of vibe in that sense. But it's just heavily steeped in like video game culture and stuff. And it's a great franchise. I can't wait for it. We didn't get a lot of No More Heroes 3. We did see some gameplay. We got little bits and stuff, but it wasn't even at like Nintendo show or at any other major show.
It's close now. It's very close. It's coming out in August. We're already in the middle of June.
Yeah.
So kind of strange that it was absent.
Yeah. It was at like the Treehouse thing. There was like a Treehouse video they put out.
Oh, they showed some at the Treehouse? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Treehouse stuff.
I don't think it was during the stream though. Like they just put up a Treehouse video that was recorded separately with like, it was like some guy playing it and then like Bill Trinan was there.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of weird. It was like a Treehouse spinoff. But yeah, I'm definitely super excited for No More Heroes 3. We have some friends of the show that are also super, super excited for No More Heroes 3. So that's going to be a fun one. Our next pick on our list here isn't even a game. It's just a show. And we knew it was going to be great because every year it's great.
Well, yeah, every year the developer, like they put on a great show. Regardless of what games actually get announced during their show, they just put on like an amazing, every year it's a send up.
It's a short film.
Every year it's a send up of like E3 press conferences, but like they just keep one-upping themselves every year.
Oh yeah, and they touch on the just kind of trends and tech and stuff like that, and they make like lots of little funny jokes, but it's almost like a grindhouse short film every year,
Right.
And this one was a little bit less so in that department, like it wasn't all bloody like some of the other ones are. The funny thing though is, and I said this to Will like before we were recording, like I don't think I've ever played a Devolver game, but I love their conference. It's one of the highlights for me every year. So I think I need to get on the ball and just get a Devolver game just to support them.
You know what was pretty interesting this year? The Limited Run Games Conference.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, they had some pretty cool announcements. So they announced River City Girls 0 and River City Girls 2, which is really cool. I don't know if you played the first River City Girls. It's a spin-off of the River City Ransom series. So they're beat-em-ups. They're 2D beat-em-ups, but they're fun games.
They're like beat-em-ups with like light RPG mechanics, right?
Yes, very light RPG mechanics. Very fun. I recommend them. Easy to get a hold of. They announced they're porting all the Shantae games over to the PS5. And then they came out with some pretty crazy announcements. First one is just baffling. So back in October, the owner of Limited Run Games, Josh Fairhurst, said that they made an IP acquisition that was just as baffling. That was just baffling as anything else that they were going to do. And people were trying to guess what he was talking about. And they finally revealed it. And it was that they bought the IP to Plumbers Don't Wear Ties on the 3DO. And they're porting it to PS4 and Switch. PS4, PS5, and Switch. And I was just like, what? Why? Okay.
So game collectors can put it on their wall.
Yeah, exactly. So game collectors can put on their wall this weird fucking 3DO game. Like, that's only notorious now because the AVGN made a video about it.
We might as well have Criterion Collection put the Blu-ray release of the Super Mario Brothers movie, you know?
Right, exactly. And then they did another one that's equally weird, but in my opinion is legitimately cool. They are actually with 100% fully licensed by Konami with their blessing. They're doing an English release of Castlevania Rondo of Blood on the Turbo Duo.
Yes, the Turbo Duo.
Yes, the Turbo
Not
Duo.
some new Turbo Duo remake system.
Not
like,
on the PS4.
This isn't like an
not
NES Classic, you know, this isn't something like that.
Yeah, it's not going to be on the, PS4. It's on the Switch. It's on the Turbo Duo. It's going to be like a Turbo Duo disc with an official English version of the game for the first time ever. And it's crazy, but I'm there to buy it as soon as it comes out.
Maybe this is how Nintendo will finally release Mother 3.
Yes.
As a Game Boy Advance cart.
As a Game Boy Advance cartridge, yes. Do it, Nintendo. Do it.
I think that brings us to the Nintendo show, right?
Yeah, that should bring us to the Nintendo show, yeah.
So most of our top picks fall on the Nintendo show, both because Nintendo killed it this year, like they do most years, but also because we're primarily Nintendo fans. If you've listened to us and you've listened to some of we do another podcast that we used to do before we kind of joined our TV and game and all that stuff together. We had another podcast called The Old Switcheroo.
I don't think that was like
focused.
Explained at the top. This is the first episode of our new podcast, and yeah, one of the conceits of the new podcast is we're not just talking about TV anymore. This is all entertainment media.
Yeah, pretty much anything that can be on a screen.
Exactly. You put on a screen, we talk about.
Our next episode is going to exclusively be covering Fox News.
Oh, God.
No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to cover news. We're not going to do that, right? It's entertainment. But yes. Yeah, this brings us to the Nintendo show. Most of our picks are from there. So we'll kind of go through our top picks from the Nintendo show and then kind of address anything we might have missed about the Nintendo show. And then we're also going to go over Nintendo's release schedule, kind of some of the bigger entries of their release schedule and talk about that too. Both stuff that was at E3 and stuff that wasn't, because it's kind of interesting the way it's laid out. But let's kick things off. These aren't in order of reveal, but they're just kind of in order of whatever, I guess.
Just say what comes to mind.
WarioWare Get It Together.
Yeah, it was really cool to see a new WarioWare game. It's been a while since there's been a WarioWare. And we kind of had like a hint one was coming because Nintendo actually put out like a survey like a week or two back where they were asking people questions about WarioWare, like how much would you pay for a new WarioWare game?
And everyone's like, holy shit, WarioWare?
Yeah, WarioWare, what? So it was kind of like not super surprising giving that, but it was really nice to see it. I love, again, WarioWare, like they always do something new, and this time it seems like the difference is like you are actually controlling the characters, as you're actually controlling the characters to like solve the mini games instead of like
co-op is apparently a big feature.
And co-op is a new feature, yeah. And it's also interesting because it appears like different characters have different abilities and can solve the mini games in different ways.
Yeah, which is very cool.
Yes.
Because that was one of the coolest things about WarioWare is that like you see so many companies struggling to come up with like interesting characters. WarioWare just like throws them out like garbage. Here's just handfuls of interesting characters and we're just going to throw them out like garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
A big theme of this one is going to be the co-op. It's interesting because they always have like the WarioWare games always have like a punny name that kind of focuses on what this one's about. There's one they put out on GBA that had like a motion tech in it. Like an early motion tech thing.
That was WarioWare Twisted, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, this is Twisted, you know, it has like that double meaning because you like rotate the system and stuff. And then they did the one for the DS and it was WarioWare Touched.
Yes, they used the touch screen. Obviously, Nintendo was like really big on the touch screen when they introduced the DS.
And then the last like real WarioWare game was on the Wii, and that was WarioWare Smooth Move.
Wasn't there something on the Wii U?
But it wasn't called WarioWare. It was called Game & Wario.
Oh, that's right. It was, yeah.
And it didn't have like a ton of games. It had like 4 or 5. It was a little different, like it deviated. And they also did another one, I think also on the Wii, that was like a WiiWare game where you like made little mini games.
I believe so. But
yeah. I can't remember. I think it was on the Wii. I don't think it was on the Wii U. I think it was on the Wii, and it was just a little kind of like a game maker kind of thing. But like the one on Wii was the Smooth Moves was the last like real legit
that was the last
WarioWare
one
game.
titled WarioWare.
Yeah,
like,
it was the last like real entry in that franchise, like, you know, where like Game & Wario could be seen kind of as a spin-off almost or something.
Right.
So it's been a while. It's been since the Wii era since we've had one. So it's been probably more than around 10 years, something like that, maybe more, since we've had a WarioWare game, and it's really nice to see one come back. And this time it's Get It Together. WarioWare Get It Together. Together being the pun, as in, you know.
As in, now
co-op,
you can do it co-op, which is a first for the WarioWare series.
All of the, it's so funny, all of the puns are based on like mental health.
Yeah,
like Twisted, Touched, Get It Together. Except Smooth Moves, that one's a little different, but, you know, yeah, it's funny. But yeah, that's exciting to see come back, you know, and that kind of establishes that game, a lot of the kind of cool little announcements that happen, not the biggest announcements, but the cool little announcements that happened throughout Nintendo's E3 event is they were a lot of like kind of old little cool things, you know?
Yeah. I tell you, this E3 conference, this was very much for Nintendo fans. I don't think, if you're not like a hardcore Nintendo fan, like if you say you like Nintendo, but really that just means you like playing Zelda whenever that comes out, you're not going to get much out of this conference. But for people like me, there was a lot of cool things to digest.
Yeah. Speaking of cool little things, old things, nostalgia things that, you know, non-Nintendo fans have no idea about, Advance Wars 1+2 reboot.
Yes. Oh my word. That was a franchise that I was positive was dead. They haven't done a new Advance Wars anything since the DS.
I could hear Pierre from IGN screaming from 500 miles away.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that it's just a remake of the first 2 games, because, you know, like, I played those games, but just awesome to see it back in some form. And, you know, there's a lot of controversy around the graphics. I understand.
I think it looks like it. It looks like Advance Wars. You know?
It looks like Advance Wars. It looks like the graphics are very clean. I think that's done for readability. I get the complaints. Like, I love the pixel art of the originals.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love it, but I can see why they did it. You know, like, traditional pixel art is just dead. People gotta, like, live with that.
Yeah.
But it looks great. It looks great. I'm really happy. I hope this sells well so that Nintendo says, oh, maybe we should do, like, a brand new Advance Wars game.
Or like another dormant franchise.
Yeah, or maybe bring F-Zero back, goddammit.
Yeah.
What's it gonna take?
They're gonna bring back Devil World, and
I already sacrificed like 8 goats.
Was it Murasama's castle? Is that the one? Or is it
yeah, the mystery of Murasama Castle, which is
we need to bring that back.
They're gonna do a Clue Land Deluxe.
They could bring Devil World back. He made Devil World guy made an appearance in the direct.
He did
during their Smash reveal.
During the Smash reveal, which is really funny. Sakurai's such a fucking nerd.
I don't think there's much to talk about with the Smash reveal. I'm kind of done with Smash, I think myself, but the reveal itself was funny. The reveal itself was funny.
I thought the reveal was good. I thought Tekken makes a lot of sense. It wasn't predicted by anybody, even like the so-called like leakers, like did not predict this happening.
The air quote leakers.
Yeah, right. Nobody said Kazuya. Nobody.
Yeah.
And I love the trailers. Like, half the fun for me of the Smash reveals is not only like learning who the character is, but like watching the reveal trailers, because they make such entertaining reveal trailers. And this was no exception. I loved Kazuya throwing like his defeated Smash foes like over like a cliff into like fucking lava. So they like to troll sometimes with these Smash trailers. They like to intentionally troll.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they did the reveal trailer for Isabelle in Smash, they showed Isabelle and they set it up like this was the announcement of a new Animal Crossing for Switch.
Yeah.
And then she announced she was going into Smash. Thankfully, they hard pivoted into, yes, we are doing Animal Crossing. Don't worry. Don't get upset with us, please. But like, yeah, they did that. So like, knowing that people were expecting Zelda, they decided to open this trailer with Kazuya holding, and obviously you don't see Kazuya, but you see like Ganondorf, his hand. It pans over, you see Ganondorf, and you're like, is this Zelda? What's happening? What's going on here? And he throws him over the cliff, and then you see Kazuya, and then it hits you. This is Smash. It's not the Zelda announcement.
Yeah. But like the thing I was saying was funny was that the first two, the ones that they spent the time on, they got thrown off the cliff, were Ganon and Captain Falcon, and Ganon was a Captain Falcon clone.
Yes.
In his first appearance in Melee.
In Melee, yeah.
There's a little meta joke. Like, that's the thing, is there's always little meta jokes throughout these reveals, like all over the place. That's the one way I think I still enjoy Smash as kind of, and it's less of that than it used to be, I think, is kind of as a museum of video game nerdery.
Yes.
You know?
It definitely is.
Yeah. So it still kind of has that element, which is,
cool. I also loved at the end, like, when he was like, done murdering all those Nintendo characters, like, he takes Kirby, he tries to like chuck Kirby off the cliff, and then you just see like Kirby just floating back up the cliff behind him.
Yeah, Sakurai's not going to let Kirby come to harm.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's his baby.
That's his baby.
Let's go on to Mario Party Superstars.
Yeah, so
this raised a little controversy. Let's address that first.
Yes.
There were some people that were very angry because this is what they wanted from Super Mario Party.
Yes.
And they didn't get it.
I would have liked if Super Mario Party was this game, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Super Mario Party. I played it like, I don't know, 2-3 times and then just stopped. It was relatively boring. The mini games were kind of boring. And then on top of that, the really big disappointment was just that I had to use Joy-Con for the whole thing, which just felt really unnecessary. Even when it uses motion control, it's like the Pro Controller has motion control too. And that was really frustrating for me. I don't like using Joy-Con. So it was like, that was, and obviously if you play portably, that's not really,
yes. I think one of the best announcements of this was they announced that this was fully button compatible.
Yeah, they made that like a point. So apparently I wasn't alone in really hating that.
The interesting thing, I think what was slightly controversial, is they had just released an online update for Super Mario Party that added like online gameplay to that, because bafflingly that launched without online at all.
No, it launched with online.
Did it?
But like very limited online. Like, okay. and even when they patched in online support, like later, that one you're talking about, there's still some stuff that's missing from the online.
Yeah.
But like initially it was like it had online, but it was so limited that it wasn't even worth trying.
And so because they just very recently updated and patched like Super Mario Party, people were not now expecting a new Mario Party to be announced so soon after that. But yeah, they did. And it's a new game. This time, like, in my opinion, they fixed all the issues with Super Mario Party. This one is going to be a traditional Mario Party game. It's going to use full button controls. It's going to have full online from the jump. And it's going to use mini games and boards from the N64 games, which are the best loved games in the franchise.
Well, it's going to have boards that aren't just a straight circle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to have boards that aren't just a straight circle. There's only 5 boards, but it looks cool. People are like, they're surprised. I'm not surprised. They did like 6 Mario Party games on the GameCube.
Yeah.
They did like, I don't know, like 3 on the Wii, I think. So
I think they did 2 on the Wii, and then they also did
they did
Wii Party, which was
they must, yeah, that's right.
I think they did 9 and 10.
Anyway, it's not unusual for them to do multiple Mario Party games on the same system.
I hope they do some either DLC or updates with like additional boards and stuff, because that was something that it didn't make sense that it wasn't in the first one, because it sold a lot. So it kind of didn't make sense that they didn't do either updates or DLC for it. And people were like, come on, just give us some more boards, that's all you really need to do. Give us a few more games, something like that. We'll pay for it. And Nintendo just wasn't interested in it. Maybe we'll get that. than this time. Probably not, but maybe, you know.
Right.
I might get this. The last one kind of burned me, so I don't know, but I think it's interesting enough. And it surprisingly looked great. There was I watched a little bit of the Treehouse, and they were playing that one game where all the characters are standing on barrels and they're tied to a dock, and the person at the dock is holding up a flag, and you have to match the flag or you get cut loose. That was one of the old games from the N64 days, and the water looked just amazing. The attention to detail. And then they had that cake board from the N64 one, you know, and the cake looked amazing. Something out of the way they make crafting materials look so great in that one Yoshi game or Paper Mario, you know. In that same way, they really put a lot of detail into this. So
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
So it looks cool. We have 2 more left as our top picks from the Nintendo show, and these were the big ones. These were the ones that were okay, Nintendo 1E3.
Yeah, these are obviously.
The first one, this is where I was watching this with a bunch of people, and we basically all just said, okay, Nintendo 1E3, everything else after this is icing. And that was Metroid Dread.
Metroid Dread. I couldn't believe it. There had been rumors swirling that there was a 2D Metroid in the works.
Yeah.
So, but when I actually saw it with my own eyes, I was like, this is real. This is happening.
I was hopeful for Samus Returns. Samus Returns wasn't even something I expected, but that I was just very hopeful for. I'm please,
and then you
please.
saw Metroid 5. When I saw Metroid 5, I was like, oh.
And then they gave me something much, much better. You know?
Yes. I was like, oh my god, yes. And then when they revealed Metroid Dread, I was like, oh shit. Metroid Dread, if you've been around a long ass time, you'll remember that Metroid Dread was originally rumored to be coming out on the Nintendo DS back in 2005.
Casamassina, I think, broke that story.
Yeah, Casamassina broke that. He broke that. It's funny because I saw Matt, he tweeted about that, or or somebody tweeted about that, and he responded to it.
Sorry, Nintendo, I broke that NDA or something.
Yeah, sorry, Nintendo, I broke that NDA. And then Reggie quote tweeted Matt Casamassina, and he said, I had a very difficult interview with Matt. He kept asking about that game.
Yeah, that was super exciting, and that was probably the big pop moment of the show. If it wasn't for the virus, there'd be videos of the Nintendo World Store in New York with people going crazy and jumping up and down and freaking out and stuff at that reveal, you know? Especially, not even just that it's a Metroid game, not even just that it's Metroid 5, but when the Dread title came up. And if you do look up online and just look up at some YouTubers that react to Nintendo stuff, you can watch them absolutely lose their minds at that moment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. And in the Treehouse, they had Sakamoto kind of expand upon it, and he explained that he came up with the concept about 15 years ago, and they tried to make the game for the DS, and they couldn't get to work. And then he explained further that, so they canceled it. And they explained further, he got the opportunity later on to reboot it. I think he was talking about, he didn't specify, but I think he was talking about the 3DS at that time. That they got the opportunity to reboot it, and he tried rebooting it, and it still wasn't working out, and they canceled it again. And so this is the third time they attempted it. And I was watching Sakamoto. Sakamoto said after Samus Returns came out with Mercury Steam, he said he was so impressed by that team that they decided to resurrect the Dread project with them on board. And he kind of said because of Mercury Steam, they were able to make it work this time and get the game out.
He also said with this game that they had, quote, completed it, which means it's probably just in QA stage right now.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So which is great news, because I saw some people going oh, this will be delayed and stuff. It's probably not. It looks I think it's really far along.
Is pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like it's pretty much done. It's just getting some last minute QA tweaks, you know?
So it was really interesting to see the journey, and kind of fun to see they never gave up on the idea.
God, the backgrounds in this game are so amazing. There's one shot that I saw in Treehouse when they were playing the game where way in the background there was an animal sitting on top of something, and there was a light source coming from behind them, and it was casting a shadow into the foreground where Samus was, and then the animal moved because something happened in the game and it scared it off, and you just saw the shadow move across the foreground as it left the light source. It's just such a cool little touch that just makes the environment so much deeper and more real, you know?
Yes.
So it's they're putting love into this game, and that's all a Metroid fan could ever ask for.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
And that brings us to the last surprise of the show. And they said that we have one more segment for you. And they surprised us with the biggest game of all. That's right. Age of Calamity DLC.
I was kind of like, because he said like, yeah, this is our last announcement. And then they were like, Age of Calamity DLC. I was like, that's not going to be, we're not going to do that.
We immediately, as we were watching it, the people I was watching us, we were looking at the clock and going like, there's like 8 minutes left. There's no way they're going to cover Age of Calamity, DLC for 8 minutes.
They're going to have, the director of Age of Calamity on there to just talk at length about the DLC. Yeah, I was like, no, that can't be it. And yeah, they're right. They actually had one more announcement. That was a Zelda Game & Watch with Zelda 1, Zelda 2, and a Link's Awakening, and a version of Vermin, just with like Link's head on the guy.
Don't forget the clock.
And the clock. And I gotta admit, I watched a few Nintendo like reactions, like people were like, oh, I care about that very deeply. I will be buying that Game & Watch. I love stuff like that. I love when Nintendo just panders to nostalgia like that. I'm all for it.
They should have had a segment right after they announced it and showed it where they said, available soon on eBay for $400.
Yes. It's funny. You could tell. It's because I'm old. You could tell the freaking Zoomer Nintendo fans from the old timers, because like, I remember I got pretty excited about this. I was listening to Pat the NES Punk on his podcast, and he said he was pretty excited about it. And then I was listening to like Arlo, who's like a lot younger, and Arlo was like, yeah, I don't care about this. I was like, oh yeah, because you're a baby. No.
As an older Nintendo fan, I have to say, I'm actually like, I'm in a weird position because I'd never get it. Right. I have no reason to get it just because I'm not a collector. Like we've talked about this before. Like I'm not into collecting things. So it's like that just doesn't do anything for me in that sense. But even so, I'm glad it exists. Like it's one of those things where it's like, I'll never get it. I'm not interested in getting it, but I'm glad that it exists. It's cool to me that it's out there somewhere. Yeah. And that's about as far as it goes for me.
It's really cool. It's really cool though. But I generally like that when Nintendo does cool things that just call back to their past and their legacy. I really, really love that. But seriously, after the Game & Watch, they really did have one more thing. And that was a new trailer, a new teaser for Breath of the Wild 2, where they actually showed gameplay. There was actually gameplay in there. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't super much.
It was less than I expected, I have to say.
Yeah. But it showed some interest. It showed like Link's new look. Link has longer hair and he has like a new arm that he does like all his magic through now, apparently.
Yeah, like instead of the Sheikah Slate, it seems.
Yeah.
Did you also notice that a lot of his powers look like they have to do with like time reversal?
Yeah, it looked like that. And he has like a new power where he like phase through like floors, apparently.
Yeah.
Some interesting stuff to glean from that. It looks cool. There's a new emphasis on like the sky now, like there are floating like islands or structures in the sky.
Skyward Sword 2, baby.
Yeah, Skyward Sword 2, baby. And I kind of like
3D Zelda 2.
I kind of like put together like maybe this is why they're redoing Skyward Sword now, because like it kind of fits like a little bit with what they're doing with the new Breath of the Wild.
Well, like, also remember when they announced Wind Waker HD, they were talking about developing the next Zelda, by which they meant Breath of the Wild, but it hadn't been shown yet. And they were saying that they were experimenting with art styles, and they came upon Wind Waker HD and were experimenting with it. And then when we got Breath of the Wild, it had like this really cool kind of semi-cell shaded aesthetic to it, you know? Yeah. So like there's obviously like it's kind of goes in the same tradition as that, where like Wind Waker was preceded by or Breath of the Wild 1 was preceded by Wind Waker HD, and now Breath of the Wild 2 is being preceded by Skyward Sword HD.
Yeah, exactly. And then they announced the 2022 date. They said they're aiming for 2022. It's not a hard date. Yeah. It's just they felt confident putting
2023 is still on the table.
Yeah, 2023 is still like, if you're a Zelda fan, that should be nothing new to you. Zelda games do that. Ocarina of Time went through multiple delays.
Yeah, 4 delays, I think.
Yeah, 4 delays.
The N64 alone, just the system had like 2 or 3 big delays.
Link to the Past on the SNES went through like a couple delays.
Yeah.
If I remember.
Zelda games and delays go hand in hand.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. It's a tradition by now.
Yeah. Twilight Princess had, I think, like a few big delays. One of them was like a year-long delay, I think. It was like they went through quite a few big ones. So yeah, it's if you're an old Zelda fan that's been playing them as they come out, out, not somebody who's just played them when they've already been out, then this is nothing new. This is like par for the course, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's par for the course. It is what it is. Just expect delays. But, I mean, it's going to be amazing when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time. So
and during that presentation, Anuma said something that upset a lot of people once they realized he had said it. But he did say, like, the stuff that he showed was it for Zelda games or Zelda events during the anniversary.
That's a little disappointing.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they're not going to do anything. It just means it's not happening within this fiscal year during the anniversary.
Yeah. I hope they just end up putting pretty much everything that's ever been Zelda on the Switch.
Yeah, that's what I hope so too.
You know, Wand of Gamaleon or whatever and all.
I hope they're still doing
that
porting.
porno they own. No, that's Mario.
That's Mario. I hope they're still porting Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD to Switch, but
that just makes so much sense. I don't know.
Anuma said it's not happening for the anniversary year, so that means if they're doing it, it's not going to come out till after the fiscal year.
They're doing it for the 36th anniversary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, those seem like a slam dunk. They've already been reworked. They could also do a port of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask that would be fairly simple since those were already updated for the 3DS. And I was actually watching somebody stream those games and they already look pretty good. You know, like those versions.
Want to get more 3DS ports on the Switch.
Yeah, so
I'll do it.
All of those would make sense. A lot of people are saying that they really hope they do. The team that did like the Link's Awakening remake would use kind of like that similar art style and maybe do some of the Capcom Zeldas, you know, the Age of games or like the Minish Cap. Right. It would be really cool if like Switch just had every Zelda game, you know? But Nintendo's kind of a weird company. They'll do things that you don't expect. They'll make moves that seem counterintuitive from a business standpoint. They kind of march to their own beat, you know? So just because it makes a lot of sense that it's going to happen doesn't mean it will.
Right.
Which is a little unfortunate, but I mean, I was kind of actually hoping to play for the first time, really, Majora's Mask. I've played Majora's Mask, but I never beat it. And I was thinking, if they re-release that, I'm going to sit down and actually try to finish that game and get through it all. So I'm a little disappointed from that, you know, aspect because I was actually thinking about doing that, but you know, I'll have other stuff to play. That's what brings us up to our next and last topic for the show, which is we just kind of wanted to go over, and this shows us being Nintendo more focused on our gamer side. We wanted to kind of go over Nintendo's release schedule for like the next year and what are some of the significant releases and why.
I can go over Microsoft's release schedule.
No, that's okay.
Halo and Forza.
That's for this year?
That's for this year, yeah.
But yeah, here's what's coming up for Nintendo. Starting in June, so on June 25th, Mario Golf Super Rush.
Mario Golf. Yeah, looks super fun.
It looks like the most they've done with Mario Golf in like, I don't know, since the first Mario Golf.
Yeah, no long ass time.
Yeah. So I mean, like the free-for-all mode is like, that just seems like something that should have been in it from the beginning, you know? So it's really cool that that's going to be a part of it. I'm not too big into the Mario sports games. I think that kind of depends on if you have a good couch co-op situation at your time, you know? And I don't really have that. I'm not sure if I'm going to get this game, but maybe. Like it's intriguing enough to me that it's on my maybe list, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense for me logistically with like my current situation. Later that month on the 29th is Disgaea 6. This is kind of a big deal because a Disgaea game has never been like a Nintendo exclusive, and they've never launched on Nintendo systems. They've always launched on PlayStation systems, and some of them have come out, or I think actually all of them now, have come out on Nintendo systems, but like later on, like years after.
Well, the developer like Nice, they were always like very PlayStation loyal in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They made a point to like they want to put their games on PlayStation systems, and it wasn't really like it was really with the Switch that you know they decided they just made smart business moves to get their games on the Switch.
I'm just gonna channel Hurricane Katrina era Kanye West and say that Sony doesn't care about Japanese gamers. They have decided now that they no longer care about Japan.
Right. Now you're gonna get the fanboys upset. What's wrong with you?
I think they actually released a statement or something came out where they were actually basically saying that they were shifting their focus to the West like a while ago.
I don't know if there was like an official statement was made, but like it did come out that Sony is focusing more on Western markets now.
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense because like the console market in Japan has really shrunk. Japan wants portable. They want mobile phone games and they want the Switch.
Yeah.
They want portable. People in Japan don't really want to sit down with a game console in their living rooms. Yeah, it's a response to Sony being a console manufacturer, that being their business, and seeing that business shrink. Obviously, they're going to turn their focus to markets where, their console business is more healthy.
Also, NIS as well as like companies like Atlas, for example, they're very niche developers. They have a very small subset audience and they want to reach as much of that as possible. And right now, like that kind of market is being completely dominated by Nintendo.
Yes.
So like it just doesn't make sense for them to put it on anything else. I mean, it might make sense if they eventually maybe put Disgaea 6 on PS4, PS5 sometime down the line, but the lead platform is going to be the one where they think they can reach people, and that right now is going to be the Switch. The other notable thing about Disgaea 6 is it's the first Disgaea game to move away from pixel art. It's using 3D characters now, based on kind of like the same art style, but it looks a little different. Some people aren't too keen on the way it looks. I'm going to have to take a wait and see approach. I have the demo. I haven't played it yet, but I want to check it out and see kind of how it strikes me. I was a big fan of the first Disgaea, and I haven't really gotten into any of them since. I think I have 5. I think it's 5 I have on my Switch, and I wasn't able to get into it because the stuff I really wanted to do was kind of gated off at the beginning of the game, so I just started losing interest before I could get to it. But I need to eventually try to either re-get that or make a fresh start with 6, because I really did like the first game in that series. Next up, we're going into July. Ys 9 Monstrum Nox comes out. I think that's already out on PlayStation 4.
I believe, yes, it is.
It's also going to be coming to Stadia if it's not already there. It might be. And I'm sure on Steam it's either available or coming soon. Ys kind of just reaches about as many of the platforms as they can.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any real history on like Xbox though, but
no,
they try to reach as much as they can. So maybe eventually I could totally see Ys games being on like Game Pass or something,
Oh yeah, for sure.
So maybe that'll happen in the future. I don't play a lot of Ys games. I think the only one I've really played is 8, and I'm still kind of in the middle of that, or fairly early in that. But it's a cool series, so.
It's a long running JRPG series. It, started with old Japanese, the PC, I don't know which one, I think the PC-88 or something, which is like the first Ys, and then that got ported out to the TurboGrafx or the PC Engine and other consoles from there.
It goes back.
Yeah, it goes back a ways.
So that's cool. That's coming out. Also on the same day, the Silver Case 2425 is coming out. This is kind of like a visual novel, very kind of simple puzzle type game with like visual novel aspects and storytelling aspects. The reason this is on our list for major releases is this is an early Suda51 game.
And you're a Suda51 fanboy.
Yeah, everybody should be a Suda51 fan. And this is not just one game. It's like a compilation with, I think, 2 games in the series. And it's got some other stuff. It's like updated, and I think it's got redone graphics and everything. But it's if you're a Suda fan, you're getting ready for No More Heroes 3 and you want to kind of get involved in this, because there's a weird interconnected Suda universe. Like all Suda51 games reference other Suda51 games. So if you really want to get the most out of a Suda51 game, you pretty much have to play every Suda51 game.
Suda51 cinematic universe.
Yeah, pretty much. He's kind of got like his own little thing like that. So definitely, if you really like Suda and his kind of weird storytelling and meta stuff that he does, check out the Silver Case 2425. And that comes out on July 6th, same day as Ys 9. A much bigger game that's coming out on July 9th is Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Rune. And that also has a demo coming out on June 25th, by the way.
This is a more action RPG focused spin-off to the traditional Monster Hunter series.
So I gotta ask you, Will, because you might know this, because I don't. Are like all of these Capcom games running on that RE engine that was ported to Switch?
I believe so, yes.
Because that engine flies on Switch, if that's the case.
I know Rise is running on the RE engine. I believe Monster Hunter Stories 2 is. I could be wrong on that.
If both of these are running on it, then that engine absolutely soars on the Switch.
Yeah. Monster Hunter Rise is gorgeous.
Yeah, and this game looks stunning.
Yes.
This game has a similar, like, kind of quasi-cel-shaded aesthetic like Breath of the Wild does, and it's probably the only game that can stand next to Breath of the Wild and say, I look just as gorgeous, you know?
Now, this series, Monster Hunter Stories, this series debuted on the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
First game was a 3DS game. It was cool to see. I never got a chance to play it. It always looked interesting. Always looked like something that would be fun. So it was cool to see them announce a sequel to it when they announced Rise. And I'm definitely, like, willing to check that out and see if I like the story series.
I cannot get into Monster Hunter games just because of the gameplay. Like, it's not that I think it's bad. It does not match me at all.
Okay.
But this is an RPG, so I definitely want to give this a shot. If only because I have so many friends that are into Monster Hunter. I just want to understand what the fuck they're talking about.
Right.
When they start using all these terms and names and I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I say just download the demo and see if it gels with you.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be on my list of things to check out. On the 16th of July, you have The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD.
Is there anything to say about that? It's Skyward Sword in HD. It's everybody
the
knows
worst
about
3D
it.
Zelda.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I have so many frustrations with that game. I don't want to get into all of them. I'm hoping they've kind of alleviated some of them. So, like, some of them are so key to the structure of the game that there's no way that they were able to fix them because it's just part of the game setup. Like, it would require basically completely remaking it to fix it. But there are good things to it too. And I'll say one thing is that, you know, like most Zelda games, you're trying to rescue Zelda through the game and you don't really see where she is. But like through this game, there's like traces of Zelda. Like as you progress through the story, it's like, oh, somebody was here, something happened here, whatever. And when you get to the very end of the game, during the credits, it shows Zelda's entire journey. So the two of you get separated and she's on a journey too. She's not just like captured in a cage or something. She's like going on her own kind of journey and it kind of parallels yours.
Okay.
And you get to see her entire journey through the end credits. It's one of the best endings to a Zelda ever in that aspect. Like the end credits. Best Zelda end credits ever, probably. I won't replay it. I've already beaten it and I don't like it enough to go back and replay it, but I think there's enough there to like if you haven't played it to try it out.
Neo, The World Ends With You. Never played the original. I don't really know much about it. I'm sorry.
It's kind of weird. It's so beloved, but like I haven't really heard much hype for this at all, the sequel.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I'm interested in checking it out, but like I never got to play the original. I don't have much familiarity with it, so
that's July 27th.
I can't say much about it.
Next up, No More Heroes 3. We already kind of mentioned that. That's August 27th. Super excited for that.
Yes.
Now going into November 10th, Warioware Get It Together. Already mentioned that. Excited for that.
Links about that.
Also on the 17th of September, Ninokuni 2 comes out on Switch. Ninokuni 1 is already on the Switch. 2 was a PS4 game ported over. So it's a big RPG with like a Studio Ghibli, animation style and stuff. So if you're interested in that at all, that's a big one. Unless you already have like a PS4 or something. In which case you could get it probably really cheap on PS4 Steam or something. On October 5th, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania comes out. Did you play the Super Monkey Ball games?
I played the first one on the GameCube. It's really fun. Really fun games.
This is what, 3 or 4 of the games?
This is 3 of the first 3 games. So it's Super Monkey Ball, Super Monkey Ball 2, and Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. You know, people who are into Monkey Ball, they say like, I'm not sure about Deluxe, but they say like 1 and 2 are the best games. You'll get some opinions say 2 is better than 1, but it's super fun. It's an arcade style game where
you roll around in a ball as a monkey.
You're a monkey in a ball. You actually don't control the monkey.
You control the
control
stage, right?
Yeah, you control the board, and you're trying to. The object is to manipulate the board so that the monkey makes it to the goal without.
It's kind of like that. Was it Marble Madness? Wasn't it that old game that kind of was the same kind of concept, but with a marble on like NES or Genesis, SNES or Genesis or something?
Marble Madness. You controlled the marble directly in that game.
Oh, okay.
It's like So this is a little different from that. You ever like you ever like play? It's like one of those wooden ball puzzles.
Yeah.
Same thing where you're just rotating the stage so that
or those puzzles they have in Breath of the Wild.
So the ball goes where you want it to. It's the same thing in here. Only the stages it gets really hard really fast because it gets really devious. Like some of the things you have to like navigate these really thin. Some of them you have to navigate these super thin stretches of where you just like basically have no board to navigate.
You just kind of have to use forward momentum to get past.
To get past. and stuff like that. It's really cool. If you're really good at the game, you can also like take shortcuts by intentionally rolling yourself on the board, off the board, so you land on a spot like below you, so that you can like skip sections. Really fun. Definitely recommend you check it out.
Part of the Yakuza Extended Universe.
Part of the Yakuza Extended Universe. Yeah, absolutely. One of the monkeys is like actually the secret boss of all the Yakuza.
Our next game on the list comes out October 8th, and we already kind of talked a lot about it, but it's Metroid Dread.
Yes.
Can't believe it's coming out so soon. I'm so excited. We kind of already mentioned everything there.
That's another thing I wanted to mention about what made Nintendo's conference so good is all these games. Like, a couple games they announced aren't, but like, the vast majority of these games are this year, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Next one up is kind of a surprise. When I was watching it, I was the only person that was kind of surprised. Like, most of the people were like, oh, fuck this game, I don't care, or something. But I was just surprised because it looks way beyond the Switch's capabilities. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, the new game. Of course, what we ended up finding out after the conference, even though they didn't mention it during the conference, is that this is a cloud game like Control and Hitman 3, which have already come to the Switch as cloud games. It's going to be the third cloud game for Switch in the US. In Japan, they had two others as well. Being, oddly enough, Resident Evil 7, which you think they would just eventually bring out over here, but they didn't. And Assassin's Creed, is it Odyssey?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey from Ubisoft was also on the cloud streaming on Switch, only in Japan.
Yep. So, this is both the third and fifth, cloud game on the Switch, depending on region.
Yeah, depending on region. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. They're trickling out. It definitely screams, we would have put this game on the Switch if the Switch could handle it.
Yeah. I wish they would just drop some more of these, because I don't think it needs to be a big deal, but it would be nice if, people that have a Switch don't have another console and might, happen to live in an area with good internet, just give them the opportunity to play some of these other games. And it seems like whatever the company that's handling these cloud versions, they're just using, I think, like a Windows machine, which means they could pretty much put anything that's on PC onto this. Sure. So it'd be nice if they kind of did some more.
It's strange that we don't see more of them.
Yeah. Cause I know a lot of people don't like cloud games, but you just have to think, like, what if you own a Switch and you can't afford like a PS5 or something? Well, that's an opportunity for you to still be able to play some of those games.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to have that. It might not be the ideal way. It might not be the way you want to play it, but it's better than not coming out at all, right?
Microsoft actually announced in a press release that they buried it at the bottom of a press release, but they announced that you will be able to play games like Starfield on an Xbox One through their cloud streaming platform. Starfield won't run natively on an Xbox One, but you'll be able to play it through the cloud.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, that means that they're upgrading their servers because they were running on that. What's the weaker version of the Xbox One that they released?
Xbox One S. Yeah.
Yeah. Originally that's what their Game Pass server blades are based on, is the One S.
Yeah. So next year they're upgrading. Yeah, it's pretty much confirmed next year they're upgrading their server blades to Series X, and they're going to start offering streaming versions of Series X exclusive games to Xbox One owners.
And they also said they're going to expand to what was it, PC, or not PC, what I'm talking about, TVs. So maybe like Roku or something, that would get them huge reach if they could expand on the Roku, just because so many people have Roku TVs.
Oh yeah, that would be insane.
So I mean, I'd probably end up getting Game Pass if it came to Roku, just because I wouldn't have to buy additional hardware. Like I could just jump in,
So I think the future of game streaming is looking pretty healthy at this point.
But that's as we mentioned, Guardians of the Galaxy cloud version, October 26th. To round out October is Mario Party Superstars. Again, we already talked about it. Going into November now, Shin Megami Tensei 5 on November 12th. This was showing quite a bit. They had a bunch of on Treehouse. They had a trailer.
This was like the first big reveal of Shin Megami Tensei 5.
They've done some small tease trailers kind of stuff.
They did a teaser trailer earlier this year, but we hadn't seen anything about this. Like, they announced it at the reveal of the Switch way back in the beginning of 2017.
Yeah, the January before the Switch came out.
Yeah, January where Switch came out, and
it's one of the last games. I think it might be the last game.
I think it's the last game that was mentioned at that came out.
Except for that one game from the creator of Yakuza that I'm sure is just gone, no longer exists.
Yeah, he every time he's asked about putting Yakuza on the Switch, he just has like a negative opinion about it. So yeah, I don't think he's doing anything.
He tested the waters by putting the oldest, least updated Yakuza game
game.
on the Wii U, Nintendo's worst selling system ever.
Yeah, and it failed, and he's like, oh, I guess Nintendo's for kids, and they don't like Yakuza, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you really tried.
If he put up like Yakuza Cloud version on the Switch, I'd get it like day one.
Yeah.
Or like a dragon, Cloud version.
Yeah.
But no.
He thinks Switch owners don't want Yakuza games, so whatever.
Yeah, but so Shin Megami Tensei is the last game that we're gonna get that was announced there that we haven't gotten yet. So yeah, it's been a long ways coming and it's almost here.
Looks here.
Okay, graphically, I guess. It kind of looks dated a bit, but it'll be fun. It'll be a good JRPG. So, and then later in that month, probably the big release of the year for Nintendo is going to be Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Yeah, that's Nintendo's headliner for the year. That and Metroid are the big ones that Nintendo has for the year.
Yeah, but Metroid's not going to sell like Pokemon is going to sell.
No. Pokemon's going to, especially remakes of, one of the most popular games in the series.
To be fair, as a counterpoint to that though, this is kind of, a lot of people are not liking the look of this remake.
Oh, they went with a really weird, I get their rationale. They're trying to like make it look close to like the original DS games, but I'm just like, I don't like it.
Yeah, but I mean, even when fans bitch and complain about a Pokemon game, they still, either they or other Pokemon fans buy it in droves. Sword and Shield is another example. People had a lot of complaints about that, and that game sold like
people
crazy.
Bitched about Diamond and Pearl when they were announced on the DS, and now looking back, a lot of people say it's like one of their favorite games. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, just don't listen to the whining.
Yeah, don't listen to whining.
And then the last big game of the year from Nintendo, and it's not really that, it's pretty niche, very big nostalgia play, and that's Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. We already talked about the details of that, but that's coming December 3rd.
And then we know of a few games from Nintendo coming next year. Pokemon Legends Arceus is coming out in January, so 1 month after Advance Wars, we get Pokemon Legends. This is a totally new style of Pokemon game.
This is the hype Pokemon.
This is the hype Pokemon. This is going to be open world. They're doing a lot of things, changing up the formula. For one thing, this is not going to have a multiplayer, which is the first for the series. It's not going to really have any trainer battles. It's a lot of it's going to be focused on your interactions with the Pokemon first and foremost. And it sounds really interesting conceptually.
It's about the enslavement of Pokemon.
Yeah, it's about,
where did the enslavement start?
Yeah, where did the enslavement start? Yeah, because it's set in like the feudal version of the Pokemon universe, I guess.
And then we have that's coming January 28th, 2022. And then we have two games that are coming also in 2022, but we don't have specific dates on. And we already talked about both of them.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 2 and Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much it. And then we have, Nintendo has some TBAs that we have no idea when they're coming out, with like Bayo 3 and Bayonetta 3, I should say.
Bayonetta 3
and Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, still no idea
no clue when those are coming out. Yeah. But they're coming, and when they do, it's gonna be glorious.
Hopefully. One would hope. Well,
it just makes me think of, did you ever watch that South Park episode that did the spoof of Game of Thrones?
Yes.
And like George R. R. Martin, and he kept saying like, oh, they're coming. It's gonna be great.
Because they were like stuck at his house, and he said he ordered a pizza for them. And then and so like he said he ordered a pizza for them, and then they're sitting there going, oh, we're hungry. When's that pizza coming? And he's like, oh, it's coming. It's gonna be great. Don't worry about it. And it's just like time keeps passing, and like there's no pizza.
If I hasn't even ordered it yet. Yeah,
he hasn't even ordered it yet. Yeah.
That's what I think about when I think about the Bayo 3 and Metroid Prime 4 now. Yeah. Oh, they're coming, and it's gonna be great,
Yeah, exactly.
But that's it. That's E3. Anything else you want to mention about E3 before we close out?
E3 sucked, but
Nintendo saved the day.
But Nintendo had a good direct, so that saved it.
Yeah, so that's it. That's E3. This was our first podcast for OnScreen. If you want to listen to some of our old discussions that we had on TV only focus, you can check out the Weekly Set podcast. We did 300 episodes of that, and then we decided we wanted to close out that chapter of our podcasting lives and go grow into this new show where we could discuss not just TV, but we could discuss games and movies, and we want to kind of break it into segments and figure out new ways we could cover content rather than just talk about what we happen to be watching or something. So you're going to be getting, a few different experimental things throughout the next couple of weeks as we start to kind of build our legs with this new podcast. Next week, we're going to be talking about Loki. We're going to have some other segments we're going to talk about too. We just haven't kind of figured them out entirely yet, but you'll expect some other things besides just Loki discussion next week. But we are going to be discussing the first 3 episodes of Loki next week. So that's the one thing we can say for sure we are discussing. So look forward to that. I hope everybody had a somewhat enjoyable E3, at least, in some places. If you didn't watch the Devolver conference, just watch that and you'll at least get a smile on your face. Of course, we love the Nintendo one, as we'd mentioned. But thank you everybody for listening to our first episode of our new podcast, On Screen. Send us feedback. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. Will is on Twitter. He is at Voxel Hero. The rest of the information about this is all going to be at the end of this podcast. So listen to that and contact us, subscribe, smash that like button.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
If you're outraged with anything we've said, smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that like button. I'm just going to say that like 50 times. Smash that like button.
Yeah,
smash
subscribe and hit the bell. The bell.
Yeah,
Don't forget the bell.
Don't forget the bell. It's super important.
And we'll leave you on one final word. Chaos.
Chaos.
Thank you for listening to the On-Screen Podcast, the official podcast of The Little Screen. Visit our website at thetittlescreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.